Well, good evening, everyone. Hope you all like that intro video. Been trying to get that to work for the longest time, and that's one of the videos I had on YouTube. Welcome, John. Let's just say hello to everybody who's in here tonight. We got Dwight Curley's here. Hey, Dwight, how you doing? We got Ronald Renew. He's here. Welcome, Ronald. Got Rail Artist here. I'm sorry I don't remember your first name, Rail Artist, but I like first names. And then my honey Barbara Duke is here. Welcome, Barbara. Randall Allison's here. Welcome, Randall. And then John from Schuylkill Valley is here. Welcome, John. So yeah, it's been a long time coming. I put a video out showing the subway system running, and I've been playing around with this. Thanks, Ronald. Yeah, it's been a while since I got that working. We were spending a lot of time getting that together, getting all the panels, graffiti. That took a lot of time. Barbara did a lot of work on that, getting them to get up there. And then after I got them up there, then I had some track problems that was caused by the bottom panels that you see here. You can see my mouse moving around. Those white, that's clear filament, so it looks white, but it's clear filament. And if you look underneath them with the lights on, you can see silhouettes of things going through around the train running and stuff like that. But those things had a tendency to move when I was trying to fit in the walls and the tunnel pieces. And when they moved, the track would come apart. And if you didn't notice it when you were doing it, you would have a derailment, stuff like that. So what I did this time around was left the panels off, and then I glued down the track in the corners. So if the corners are all glued down, the other track ain't going to come apart. So that's what was holding it up. And then trying to do the video initially, the fans, the camera car was hitting the fans and stuff like that. And to answer Dwight's question, I don't know if the camera car is hitting something or it's a car hitting something. Hey, JD, welcome. Glad to see you in here. So it might be hitting on the one side. Some of the walls are close to the track. And I think in one spot, as the cars are going around the corner, the back end of one car is just scraping the wall just slightly. And I'm not sure what the camera could be hitting. There's signals that are on that side also that are signal masks. And I don't know if it's hitting that. If it would almost knock the thing off. And that was the other thing too, as the car, the car, that the flat car had a camera on it. I took what I used for coils to hold the coils onto the platforms, and I redesigned that, made it a little bigger, and then the camera fit right in the same spot. So that was good. But I laid it on there, and then as the train went around the first corner, the camera rolled right off. So I had to come up with another um, idea to keep the camera on the car. So I 3D printed some thin flat pieces and glued them on to the flat car, and then that thing slid in there. And I had them on there on an angle, but then as the train went around, it hit things. So I said, I can't do that. So I had to snip them down a little bit and straighten them out a little bit more. And then the camera fit in there and it stayed in there. And the first thing I did was I had the camera car on the front of the train, and I was running it around just to see what it would find. But then I said, wait a minute, I want to see the train running too. So I put it at the end of the cars, the last car, and that's the camera cars at the end. How did you get the grassy graffiti? That's all hand painted, Heath, by Barbara. She hand paints all that stuff for me. Everything, all the graffiti in the subway system is hand painted. Some I did buy graffiti from Blue Blair Line. It's a company, and we, instead of having Barbara paint all of them, we put some decals on some, and then she painted it around them. And then like one tile, we put this all decals on, just to speed up the process. So, and so that's what had transpired to get the subway system going. Now both trains run and everything, so it's time to move on to the other levels and get them operational again. So I talked to you guys last week about the 5th level and the track problem I had up there, and I was missing just an insulator joiner, 2 insulator joiners on a piece of track. That's what was feeding back the track power. So after I got that problem solved, I said, now it's time to get my turntable back in operation. So I spent the day cleaning all the track on the 5th level in the manufacturing area and all of the service tracks on the turntable. And I got on my creeper, and I got my long wand with the cork on it, with the dipping it into mineral spirits, and then went over the tracks and got the tracks all cleaned up. And then I started running the engines in, and they're all stored in their tracks now. If we bring up this scene, you can see over here, I got a Pennsylvania engine. I got another Pennsylvania engine here. That's my track testing car. That's my vacuum cleaning car. This is a 44 tonner right down here. And then we can't see inside the, if I bring the camera over here, there's 3 engines in the engine house. You can see the, this is the DD40. That's the longest engine I got. It's 12 inches long, and that just made it onto the bridge. It was really close. And I measured it, and I measured the bridge. I said, oh, it's going to fit on there. That's good. So I got that in the roundhouse. Then I got another SD70C in the one in roundhouse. So there's 3 engines inside there. So that's all operational now. I had the service tracks numbered 1 through whatever. I think it was 14. There's 14 tracks up there or something like that. And then I came up with another idea of labeling all my sidings with these blue signs you see here. And they have an S in front of them and a number. So then all the S numbers are up on top of the each stall, 31, 32, 33, and 34. And then it's 30, 29, 28, 27, 26. And then it comes over to 25. The lead-in track is number 35. So I got them all coded up into the controller for the turntable with the new numbers. So now when I click on a track, it matches the service track number that's showing up on the layout there. So I was glad I got that done. And the only I was holding off because I wasn't sure if I was going to have any shorts, because I had the lead-in track going onto the bridge, no problem. But then each track here has its own feeder for track power, and that's hooked up to a toggle switch. So I can turn them off or on, and all the tracks are turned off unless I need to pull an engine out. Then I turn on that track. Then the bumper light comes on, so I know there's power to that track. So what I was saying is that you don't know if you're going to, if I had any issues with the feeders. Hey, Bob, welcome. Thanks for stopping in. So I didn't know if I had any flipped wires to do. Ever since I had that NCE power thing, and I had a real, and then I split up all my bus lines into separate boosters. I didn't know if I had flipped a wire down there by accident, then these here wires would have to be flipped or something. So I tested each one, had no issues. So now they're all labeled the correct way and they're all operational. And the only other issue I have in that manufacturing area is the double slip. And for the problem on the double slip is I have a feeding track coming in, and it goes through the slip, and then it goes to the turntable, and then you can go the other way to go out again, or you can go and come back and go back into the refinery and the other gas works place back there. And what happens is the smaller engines go right through the double container, the double slip with no problem. The longer engines, for some reason, when they go through the double slip, it shorts out. And I don't know why. I had to figure that out yet. I think the longer engines might be spanned across 2 different blocks, and there might be, so I got to check it out. I'll run the engines through back and forth through there when I get everything else done, and because I don't use that area that often, and it will be starting to be getting to use more often. But right now, I don't know. And I want to get other things working before I worry about that problem. But that's one of the things I have to review later on. But these are all the things that I've been finding out. So got them all done, and all the engines are in the roundhouse and on the service tracks and everything. So now I have less engines hanging around, not doing anything. And then I said, okay, I have a problem on my second level, and I need to get working on that. So I have two main lines coming off the helix onto the second level, and that's called Upper Grimsby, that town. There's some manufacturing, and there's a little town up there, and that's where the fire scene is, and where the dumpster's on fire, and all that stuff is on that level. And it's two big reverse loops. The train goes in, comes around, and comes back out, goes back down the helix or up the helix, whatever way it wants to go. So I tested each line. One's the inside, one's the outside. And the outside track, it ran smooth all the way around. One little problem, I'll mention that in a minute. And the inside track, when it came off the helix from the block to the first block on the Upper Grimsby, it shorted out. So I flipped the two wires on the feeders. I flipped them, and then the engine came through. Then it hit the next block and it shorted out. And I said, okay, that's enough. I'm not going to worry about it. I'll worry about this another day. So I then said, okay, now I got some time. I want to work on this. So I cleaned the track all off, and then I ran the engine through, two engines, one on one track, one on the other. And as I'm going up, I said, let me flip the wires back on the original that I flipped before. I flipped them back, and the train ran through. So I said, okay, good. So now I know I don't have to go back and flip all the wires on all the feeders up there. And I got, because that's a nightmare to do that sometimes. So I run the outside train, and it runs all the way around, and it comes back, and then it goes back down. And the only thing with the outside track is, well, I'll get back to that. To the inside track, I ran it to the next block, and it stopped, and I had a short circuit, and it wasn't on the next block is a turnout, and it hit the turnout, which is insulated from the other block, of course, and it hit the turnout, and it didn't short there. It shorted out on the frog. So I'm going, okay, I'll get back to that one. So then I just pushed the engine through and ran it around, and it came back down, and had to change the turnouts and stuff to get it to come back through, and everything like that. Same thing with the outside track. The reason I changed the turnouts is because I have a product from Azitrax. It's an MRD1, and I have 4 MRD1s up there, and I have sensors. And when the engine comes through the sensor, it changes the turnout to the direction from which the train is coming to. So I got 2 on each main line. One, if the train's going this way around or that way around, the turnout will change. So they weren't working. And only 1 out of the 4 was changing the turnout. So now I got to troubleshoot those. And they have 2 sensors, and you can put the sensors either in the track, and then you have to have them angled on a 45-degree angle, and then the light shoots up and it connects, and then when it hits, the train goes over it, boom. It triggers the device to do whatever you want it to do. Well, I didn't like them in the track because sometimes the LED or the sensor would slip down into the hole, and then you couldn't get a good reading, and then it wouldn't work. So I said, okay, I designed a mount for the sensors, and then I put the sensors on top of the layout, and then they have to be across from each other. And then when the engine hits, it breaks the light, and then it triggers the MRD1, and then that sends a signal to the motor that you're using to control your turnout, and then it changes the motor, changes the turnout from whatever direction. It automates the turnout for you. So it wasn't working. So I go, well, the way you wire it for inside the track is different than the way you wire it for above the track. Well, when I changed it from in the track to above the track, I forgot to change the wires. And since I haven't been running trains up there in a long time, I never knew there was a problem. So now that I'm testing everything, I found out this was a problem. And lo and behold, after emailing John Parsons, he's the one that owns Agitrax, and I met him a couple times at Amherst, and I know him very well. We talked many times, and he emailed back and forth, and we were trying different things. Nothing was working, and then I found out that the wires on the MRD1 needed to be flipped. So I flipped those wires, and then I got 3 of the 4 working. And the 4th one was on the back side of the layout by my big window that I now have a backdrop in there to cover up the window. And I ran the engine up past there and then I tried to back it down, and it hit the sensor. So I said, it's hitting it. Maybe it damaged it. So I'm going to take that. I'll go out and I have to take that sensor out and replace it with a different sensor and everything. Well, in order to get to that, I have to go outside of my house and open up the double windows. So I have to get underneath the layout, reach up, and crank out the window on both sides. It's a double window, so I have to crank it out open. Then I can slide out the backdrop. It's only on an 1/8-inch board. I slide that out. Yeah, slid it out just enough so that I could work on that sensor. So, but this morning when I woke up, it was late last night when I got it working, and I said, I can't go. I'm not going to go outside in the dark and work on this. So I said, I'll wait until tomorrow and do it. Well, when I woke up, it was pouring down raining here. It rained all night and into the morning. I said, I can't do this today. I have to wait until the next sunny day. So I was thinking around doing other things in the house today with 3D printing and stuff like that. And then I looked up and I said, hey, the sun's out. So I ran outside, and I opened up the windows and I ran outside and did it. I was working fast in case it's going to rain again, but it didn't rain the rest of the day. It was sunny all day after that. So about 10:30, the sun came out or something like that. So it was good. So I got that. And when I was going to, in order to take the sensor out, I have to unconnect it from, I have these butt connectors. The telephone company used to use them on phone wire. And so I use them. But no, you put 2 wires in, and then you take a pair of pump pliers and you squeeze the thing down, and it squeezes the 2 wires together, and you got a good connection. Well, then I had to take a pair of pump pliers to squeeze it apart to pull the wire out, right? So I'm going up there to do the first one, and there's 2 wires on each sensor. One's the sensor, and the other one is the light. And two wires, and I went to grab the two wires, and one of them came out of the other side of the connector, so it wasn't ever tightened down. So that's why it wasn't working. So I disconnected both of the wires, and then I took the butt connector off of both of the other wires that were going to the MRD1, and that this sounds very difficult, huh? You need a tiny assistant. Yeah. Yeah. Well, sometimes, that's why I stay slim, because I can get around and get behind the layout. The one side of the layout, I only have 18, not even 18 inches to the wall. The other side, I got about 2 feet. So I have plenty of room on one side. The other side is a little less than 18 inches. I had to slide up, and then I slide up the wall, and then I can, once I'm in there, then I got enough room to move around. So that's why I have to stay slim. I can't let myself go, or then it'll be a big problem. So I then used a different type of connector, and I moved the sensor back away from the track a little bit more. Then I pushed the engine through. It didn't hit it anymore. Then I glued it in place. I pinned it there so it would stay there until it gets hard, and it'll be good to go. And then I connected it with a different type of connector, and screwed that connector to the bottom, and then it worked. I pushed the engine. I turned the track on, power on, and then I ran it across, moved the engine by hand, and then the light on the MRD1 came on, so I know that it was working. So tomorrow I'll run them around again, make sure that both turnouts are automated in both directions, just to make sure that that works. And then I'll be done with that level, and then I can move on to working on other things. So, but that was the problem with there. It was that I forgot to change the wires. So I'm looking at the direction. I'm going, oh, look at that. The wires are supposed to be different. Okay, and too much of a hurry, I guess, when I 3D printed them to put the sensors back together. What you gotta do. So the one that was working, the wires were in the correct position. So I must have did that one, and the other three are in a very peculiar spot. I have to get underneath and get up, and then I get my Dremel tool with the right size bit on it and unscrew them, and then I drop them down so I can work on them easier. And it's a tough spot. And the one at the far end, I do that from outside. I can get underneath it and do it from the outside, screw it back up. It's a lot easier from the other side. So that's all that. And then when I got the backdrop, and then I closed I slid the backdrop back in place, and then the backdrop paper, I put it back. On the corners, it's a little overlap on each end so that it covers the wall when it's back in there. And I push them in, and then I push the backdrop in. I have 2 pieces of foam that goes against the backdrop wall, wood, and then the windows. So when the windows are closed, it holds the backdrop from leaning backwards. So now that's in place. Then I taped up the backdrop paper to the other paper on both sides and fixed the other end. And then I have one more backdrop that I got to put in, but that's on the first level, and I still got to make sure that the track is clean back there. Sometimes I have to get back there and manually clean it, so I'll leave that backdrop out until I get the first level running again and make sure that everything is working there. So I had a clearance marker that got knocked off when I was moving out the thing, so I decided to move that to a different spot so it won't happen the next time I do it, and glued that in place. And stuff like that, little details and stuff like that that I had to do to get that. And so I got my backdrops in place now, so it's cleaning it up. And then since I got the turntable working now, I can um, put the wires that are in that section that you guys always say, oh, you got a lot of wires there. I can move them up. So um, that's another thing I got on my agenda to do soon, and get the wires up there. So, but I was troubleshooting this second level stuff, and you only can do so much in a day. So that's what I was doing. The other thing I decided to do, um, you guys saw my park rangers that I designed on Meshi, and then Barbara painted them for me. Then I put them up there on the campsite. Then I'm looking at my files and I say, oh, I need campers. So I went and downloaded a bunch of pictures of campers, and then on Meshi created a bunch of STL files and printed them out, and Barbara's painting them a little bit each day. So I'll have the campers up there. And then I said, you know what else I need up there? I need a lake. So I'm going to make a lake up there. I got all the materials I need to make the lake. So I'm going to put a lake up there. And I said, it'd be nice to have on the lake would be a sailboat. So I go, okay, let me go out and look for a sailboat to 3D print or even buy one. I couldn't find a sailboat anywhere. Nobody made a 3D model of a sailboat. Now, I saw a lot of speedboats. I saw a lot of rowboats. I saw a lot of canoes. I typed in sailboats and I come up with cabin cruisers, speedboats. I don't know how those boats relate to sailboat. Okay. So I said, okay, I couldn't find anybody that made an STL file. So then I typed in sailboats, and then I typed in images, and then I saw all the images of a sailboat. And again, they were all different types. And I found one sailboat and what I was looking for. And so I downloaded that image and put it up on Meshi, and I created an STL file for the sailboat, and I'll print it later. I have to clean out my resin printer. I'm going to print it on the resin printer because the sail is probably real thin, so I don't think that'll print on the filament very well. It's all one piece, so I'll try it out on the resin printer and see how it comes out. Then just paint it, and then I'll put it in the lake and stuff like that. Maybe we'll put a couple people in the sailboat stuff. So that we'll see. So that's what's coming down the road. I like a lot of details like that. That's what I like to do, and goes from there. So that's what's going on with the campsite and stuff. And then this week I started printing the oak trees. And I saw a video that JD did, and he was printing trees. And then I said, "Where'd you get the file from?" He said, "He got it on Thingiverse." So I downloaded the oak tree one. I think he's doing the same one. Yeah. Well, um, I'll show when I get mine done. I'll show you what mine looks like. Mine's a single mask, and the mask is in the boat, and then the sail is on it. That's all. It's all one. So, um, I can't show it to you now because I didn't print it yet. So tomorrow I think I'll try to print it. But as you can see, what I did was I printed the trees, and then after I printed them, I had to take all the supports off of them. And then I drilled a hole in the bottom of the trunk, and then I took a foam pin and drilled a hole, and then I put the foam pin in, and then I super glued it in place. And then now I can just take the tree and stick it in the foam in its place when they're done. So I don't know what I'm going to put on the trees yet. I was thinking about printing leaves, but I would need 1 billion leaves to put on all these trees. I got like 15 oak trees that I 3D printed so far. So um, I don't know. It's just I just might put green stuff on it and maybe make it a little thinner to make it look like leaves. I don't know. So Barbara and I are gonna go to Hobby Lobby once to see if they have anything that we can do. See if they have anything there that we might be able to put on the trees. So I give her all the tree supports, and then she uh, makes her dioramas and stuff like that with those tree supports that I take off of my models. So I got a box in the closet here with a whole bunch of tree supports for her. So that my stuff doesn't go to waste. You know, every time you print something, you have supports, and then when you do it to supports, so she uses them to make design things and stuff like that. She's really artistic, so that's how it works and stuff. So, a long time ago, I'll make myself big. A long time ago, I got me a high railer truck, and it runs okay. It has DCC in it. It's address 86. That's the number on the truck, 86. And the rear wheels on it were so close on the onto the wheel that goes on the track. It was glued onto that, and the rubber or the wheels were hitting the rails and slow and not and making it get stuck and not run. So I took the wheels off of the truck, and then I ran it, and then it ran. The front wheels worked well, but the back wheels didn't, because the back wheel were dual tires. So like I said, I was just tinkering around today. So I had to go on Tinkercad and make a file, and I needed to extend the axle on the truck by 2 millimeters. So I made a 3 millimeter diameter circle, 2 millimeters long. And I said, no, I'm not going to be able to print that on the filament printer. I'll print it on my resin printer because they can print small things, right? Well, after 3 tries on the resin printer, it wasn't printed. So I don't know what was going on. Maybe I have to re-level the resin printer. I used the little resin printer to do the real tiny things, the big resin printer, bigger models and stuff like that. So I said, just for Hardy Hearts, let me do it on the filament printer. Because and then I said, well, since it's so small, let me make them longer. And then I can cut them off to the length that I need. Well, easier said than done. And I go, okay, I cut him with my hot gun, but it's made an angle on him, so now it won't fit flat on the wheel. So I'm going to super glue. If I glue them on an angle, it would make the wheel go wobbly, right? So then I printed it on. Then I printed it on the A1, and it printed them perfect. So I took them off, super glued them to the wheel, to the axle part, and that extended it out just enough to make it go. Now, the only thing with the thing is I have to still push it to get it to go. I don't know why that is, but if I crank this up, oh, it started to go. And there it goes. And then I put it in reverse. It starts to go, but then I had to give it a push. But at least it's running. And so it's working now. So that was she's on her way to the hospital. I'm going to be a grandma. Yeah. So yeah, her daughter's having a baby. I guess going to be out soon. So that's good. So that's what I was working on today also. So last week I told you guys I ordered a new engine, and it's a GP18, and I have the same engine up on my already running on my layout. It's a Seaboard Coastline, and that one up there is 1063, and this one's 1061. So I ordered this. It came, put it on here. This is a DCC test track, and it wouldn't run. I go, uh-oh, what's wrong? So I then took it over to my workbench, turned on my DC side. I toggled over to DC mode, got the controller, put the engine on a track, boom, it took off. Oh, so it's DC and not DCC. But in the description, so I messaged the guy I bought it from. I said that. So I got on Yankee Dabbler, and then I ordered a buddy board and a Tasami 2 21-pin decoder for the engine. And this is the buddy board. It's real small. This here daughter board that's on the top, that's where all your light functions go. Okay. And then on the side here, you got your track and speaker connectors on each end. So I took, and then here's the Soundtrack's 21-pin decoder that's going in here. So then I ordered a speaker for it from Scale Sound Systems. And this was last week that I, after the show, I started ordering the parts. And Yankee Dabbler, I ordered by UPS, and they came yesterday and got dropped off. Scale Sound Systems, the guy emailed me back on Monday saying that he was away for a weekend somewhere. And then I emailed him back and I said, what's any ETA on it? He says, well, 2 to 5 days. The next day, I get an email from him. It's been shipped out. So it was shipped out. And it departed from Ohio. That's where he's from, Marion, Ohio, which is center of Ohio, north of Columbus. Okay. My house to Columbus, Ohio is 8-hour drive from here to Columbus. And I would say from Columbus to Marion is another hour. So say 9 hours. So it departed from Columbus yesterday at 3:30 in the afternoon. Okay. Well, it's now past 3:30 today, which is 24 hours later, and it's even more than 24 hours later. And it still has not updated where it is. Now, I could have drove to Columbus, Ohio, back and forth twice in 24 hours. I won't want to do that, but 8 hours back, 8 hours back, 8 hours, 8 hours, you know, and be here. So that package, I don't know what they're doing. It departed. I saw on the tracking thing, it said it departed from Marion, and that was the last thing I saw. Now I see it's in transit to the next destination or wherever it is. But it should have been in New Jersey. It doesn't take 24 hours to drive from Ohio to New Jersey. It doesn't take that long. You could have gone to California from Ohio in 24 hours. So, yeah, I just don't get it. So sometimes, who knows? So tomorrow morning when I wake up, I should see something on the app showing that it's in another station. So that's holding me up from getting this done. I had to take out the weight. This is the weight in the engine, and that's the same size as the speaker he designed to fit in the GP18s. So it'll fit in there, and then I'm going to do solder the two wires onto it, and then it'll be done. So other 3D things I printed, propane workers and campers, and they're all printed, and barbers paint them. So it takes time to paint them all because you have to paint, then you have to let it dry, then you have to paint it. The tedious work. You got small paintbrushes and stuff like that. It makes it hard. So that's what I got coming out. On the propane, when Jim Tedesco gave me a file for propane trucks, I printed my own propane trucks because I have a gas plant up on my level. And so I said, okay, this is the propane delivery trucks, right? And I go, okay, John, thanks for stopping in. Have a good one. We'll catch you later. Thanks a lot. So I decided, I said, hey, I need workers now to fill, they have a hose and they're filling up the thing. So nobody had propane workers. So I downloaded photos of them and I put them up on Meshi and created, STL files out of them, and I printed them. And they all came out pretty good, except the hoses did not print well. They were really, really thin. I don't even think they were a quarter of a millimeter thick in diameter. They were real stringy. So I have this roll of black stretch string that I used for the power lines. And I'll make that the hose. And then I'll hook that up to the truck and then run it to the guy, and he'll be holding the hose and putting it into the tank, stuff like that. So that's what I'm going to do with that. Because I have one guy that's holding the hose like this or something like that. Something, yeah, I forget all the different images I got. So that's what's coming, and that'll make them look more realistic when they're down there on the layout. I have them parked by the propane tanks, so like they're delivering it there, but you don't see anything going on because they're not there filling it up or anything from the truck. So also when I was working on the second level, I found a device mounted under the layout, and I forgot what it's used for. I said, "What do I have that there for?" Because this is when I was troubleshooting shorts and everything. I go, "What's that there for?" So I looked at the manual that came with the device. The device is a Tam Valley dual frog juicer, and it has two wires going into one port and two wires on another side. So I got to trace where those wires are going to see what it's for, because I don't know what it's for. Um, I don't think I used it for I could have used it for the reverse loops up there, but I'm not sure um, uh, what they're used for. So I got to find out. So that's another thing I got to trace out to see what it is. And because I was reading the manual and it says this needs to be placed before if you have any circuit breakers, and I have circuit breakers on all my bus lines, so it's on after the circuit breaker, so that needs to be isolated from the bus line. If it's connected to the bus line, I gotta find out where the wires go. That's another thing, but that's something that I'm looking into. Um, it's a dual frog juicer, and that's what people use to power their frogs with. Well, I have um, two, I have 5 turnouts on that second level. Um, the 2 that are automated by the MRD ones are Cobalt IP digitals. I got siding, a long siding. Those 2 are controlled by tortoises. And the third one is oh no, I got 6 up there now. Another one's controlled by a tortoise, and I have one more Cobalt IP up there for another turnout I put in for the second siding up there. So, so all the frogs up there are powered. You can power the tortoise machines. They got a frog connection on there and a relay on there. You hook them 2 wires up to your DCC bus line, and then you have the frog, and then you get power on there. The only thing you might have to do is flip them wires depending on which side the power is on the frog or is on. So, so I don't know what the dual frog juicer is being used for right now. So I got to do more investigation to find out what that was put there for. Then I'll document it in my notes so I know the next time I troubleshoot things, I'll know what it's for. So that's what that's about. So for the guys that were here earlier, you got to see my intro video, and I'm going to have an outro video. It's like 5 minutes long. So when I end this, when I go off, I'll be down in the basement here, and that'll be playing. So I noticed on StreamYard, you can set intro video and set outro video. So I said, oh, cool. I'm going to set up an intro video and outro video and do it on StreamYard, and, boom, 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 right? Well, I clicked on it, and they want you to buy a plan. I don't want to buy a plan. I'm using the free version of StreamYard, and I don't have any issues with it. I'm not streaming every day. I only stream once a week. and it's about an hour or an hour plus, sometimes 2 hours maybe. And no, so I said no. So I can just present the video in StreamYard, and then it'll play the outro that way. Because I said I'm not going to pay for StreamYard. So I mean, yeah. So I mean, all the other things I've been working on, just a lot of little details, and then I work on getting some of the track working and stuff like that. You know, I want to do like I have all the track to get worked on, you know. So I don't want to do it all at once. That gets, you know, too overwhelming sometimes. So like tomorrow, I'll work on pushing those wires up. If we show you what I'm talking about, this view. These wires up here, they're all hanging down. And so they all got to get pushed up. The only reason they were down is because a lot of the service tracks are connected there. And, you know, I want to make sure that I didn't have to change any wires. So now that I know that's working, I can just push them up and get them out of the way. And there's something else I want to do. I'm not sure on how I want to handle it. When you're looking in the subway and you're looking at the subway station, and then you can, and the subway stations are open. There's no panels there, right? And I did that because I want to be able to see the subway stations when I'm standing there in the room, or if anybody comes over, you know, I can point to the subway stations and they can see them, right? Well, when you look through there, you can see the wires hanging down from the 5th level and stuff like that. So I'm thinking about getting something, some kind of skirt to go to cover them all. So it looks, you know, I don't know. I'll see. I can staple it up there or hot glue it up there or something just to cover up the wires from the seam. That's all. And that might dress it up just a little bit more. Like underneath the yard, I can do that. But you know what's going to happen. As soon as I get it all covered up, I'm going to have to get to the wires for some reason, right? So I don't know if I want to do that. So it's something that I'm thinking about. But all right, guys, I'm going to present the outro video now. And let me see how this goes. Let's see how this goes. This here has both planes running. Both trains are at speed 740 and 42 or 40 actually. And the outside train can't keep up with the inside train. So you can see it in the distance. That is a shorter distance too, right? So it's up around back. So I slowed it down a little bit to let the outside fence a little later on in the video. So they're running side by side. But when they're both running and stopping at the stations, then it'll be close by to each other. I haven't tried running the camera car on the inside track yet. I'll try that. It goes around about 3 or 4 times before it stops. The other thing I was trying to do was to put overlays on this video, but I can't get that to work. Wrong. And that's just getting overlay. I got some text messages that they're a separate image. I want it to be overlaid as it's going around. I do this, but I can't figure out how to do it. I'm struggling. Like in the beginning, I was doing a ride on the subway system, but it was a separate frame. And at the end, and we'll see if it shows up. That won't change until it's fine. And the other thing I did was I put a station number on the train station on the side, so the train's coming. There's what I was trying to do. But it doesn't. It's a separate thing. So it goes around once more and then it comes to a stop. You can see it, 42nd Street and a 34th Street. I 3D printed them in gray and made the numerals black. So now the video's over, and just a couple phones will be coming on, and then it's over. So that's what I've been trying to get, is the stupid overlays to work, and it just doesn't work. So maybe next week, maybe I'll have it figured out by then. It's a lot easier to put, I like the way the guys do it, and the software I'm using says put overlays on, but it doesn't work for me, so I'm doing something wrong. So everybody, I want to appreciate everybody for coming in. I want to thank everybody for being here. I appreciate you all, and everybody take care, and we'll catch you all later, and have a great week, and we'll see you soon. Take care, everyone.